I'm going to show you how to import references from a Medline database search into Endnote. I'm starting at the University of Kentucky homepage, which is probably the easiest way to start sort of from scratch. I like going from this page as it sort of gives everybody a reference. I tend to use Chrome as I do all my searches. You certainly can use other databases, or I should say applications, but that seems to work really well. Go down here to libraries. This gets you into the UK library system, and then I click on database and type in Medline. This is a version of PubMed. As I mentioned previously in some of the presentations, I'm a big fan of using EBSCOhost. It gives me a lot of variability and capability. I can sign in to save my searches. I've already created a sign in component. Apparently I can't hit the right button. There we go. And that allows me to sign in with my user and password. This way, if I go and do a search, I want to focus on that information. Consent to give them that access. Of course, there's always something when you try to record anything. Nothing is ever easy. So, sorry for that. Okay, so I've done my search, and I'm going to type in something relatively straightforward like scapular and strengthening. So that's going to be a search where I do scapular and strengthening, and we'll add in electromyography. So now I've done this search. I've looked just in the Medline database, and I've gotten 36 hits. So these are publications that might be of interest to me if I was doing some research on a scapular strengthening program. So let's pick a couple of these references and sort of walk you through that. So this is the effect of scapular retractor fatigue on external and internal rotation with patients with internal impingement, scapular muscle activity. So we'll select these two references. That lets me put it in any kind of EMG and any kind of folder that I might want to use. So we'll just pick an EMG reference here. These are created within my system. Go back up here. So we'll put it in here in my folder. And then we'll pick this other one as my folder. So if you just are looking for a single reference, you can click on this, read the abstract, get the information, and say, okay, this is perfect. This is exactly what I want to know about. So I'm going to pull this information back into my Endnote. So I'm going to hit export, and I just want this reference. And I have a bunch of options, but the one that I'm going to typically use is the one to reference for Endnote. I save this information, and what I do is I typically have a place. This was published by a gentleman named Tim Tyler, and it was scapular exercises. So I'm going to drop this into where I save all of my articles and all of my documentation. I would recommend putting something on your computer that allows you to pull all of this information in a central location. So Tim Tyler is a friend of mine. He's a PT, ATC from New York. I'm going to see if the University of Kentucky has this available as an actual full text PDF. So I clicked on my View My UK, and it's going to look, and it says, yep, this is available through the Journal of Sports Rehab. Full text is available down here at Human Kinetics. Sometimes that'll take you to the exact article. Sometimes that link will take you to a table of contents, and you still have to search for that. So here's the downloaded PDF. So I'm going to open this PDF, and again I'm going to save this. Now sometimes it'll give you a weird lettering number, sometimes it gives you a title. Every journal seems to do this a little different, but I put this in my article to enter, and I hit it defaulted to where I just saved that. So now I've extracted a single article and a single citation into a holding folder that I'm going to use to import my information into Endnote. So I'm going to open my Endnote. I have one Endnote system. I have multiple groups that I use for different research projects or different components, but I have a single Endnote. And I don't call it my Endnote library, I call it OOL library. But I would really recommend doing that as you organize your Endnote. Okay, so here you can see a reference that I recently looked up. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that new citation in this Endnote library and attach the PDF. So everything is sort of organized together. So I'm going to go back to my Windows Explorer, not my Internet Explorer, but my Windows Explorer. Go under Articles to enter, and I'm going to sort it by dates modified. So there's my Tyler scapular exercises, and all I do is I double click on that, and it automatically searches to marry it with Endnote. So now it's brought that reference into Endnote, and if you double click on it, it fills out all of that information. Back in the day, you used to have to type all that in. Sometimes you still have to if it doesn't import correctly. But for the most part, that's pretty automated. Now over here, I'm going to attach that PDF, which was the full text article, to go with this reference. So the way I do that, I can hit that little paperclip button. I tend to do it this way. I just right-clicked instead of left-clicked on my mouse, and I got all of these different commands. This allows me to put it in different groups, so I can put this reference in one of my multiple groups if I had a specific area I wanted that to go to, like if I was doing it for one class versus another class. But in this case, all I'm going to do is I'm going to attach the file. So when I hit the attach file, it defaults to wherever I search for that data the last time, and there is the article I just downloaded this morning on the Journal of Sports Rehab. I hit open, and there's the effect of the article. So now, right now, you don't see a little button, or I'm sorry, a little paperclip here. So usually I have to hit save, or I have to click off of this, and it'll automatically start to do that. So I'm just going to click all references, and then I'm going to do a quick search for Tyler. I have several articles by Tim, but we know that was just recently published. So here's the article, and there's the PDF. So let me open this up again. Now you can sort of see the PDF. I can go down and read it in that format, or if I want, if I right click again, I can open that and read it in a regular PDF format. So that's importing one particular article as we do that. So now it's just saved, and now you can sort of see I'll click off this one. Now the little paperclip is right there for the article by Tim Tyler for that information. Now, if you look in my Windows Explorer, I have lots of articles, and I haven't brought them all in and imported them. So now what I want to show you is how to import a group of articles. So I've put a few folders, and I have this little folder I've made called import. These are when I move over certain articles that I want brought into Endnote. I typically drop them in this import folder. Once it's imported, then I delete them out of that information. So now if I want to import a bunch of articles, in this case 4, but you might do 10, I've done multiples of 10 in the past, I have to go through a procedure in Endnote where I actually go up here into the Endnote program and I'm going to do an import command. I can import a single file or I can import a folder, and in this case I'm going to import all the data or all the articles that are in the folder. So I have to go search for it, sort of like I'm an attachment, so I have to choose the right folder that this information's in. I've done this before, so it should be under my Dropbox, under the articles to enter, import, and that's just the title that I use in my approach. I don't go within the folder, I just click on the folder and then I hit OK. So now it's going to include files in subfolder, create a group, and I want to create a specific group. It's going to import only PDFs. If you had other documents in there, it wouldn't import those. I've asked it to import all. So you can also say discard duplicates. So it'll look into the computer and import all of that information. This is a subfolder. The import, right, is a subfolder, but there's no folder within this folder, so I didn't need to click on that information. So there is no need to include files in subfolder. And so this shouldn't take too long because it's only 4, but I'll hit import, and then that's going to take a few seconds as it brings that data in. But it's way more efficient than me having to find it and search it and do all of those components. So I got lucky this time. If you notice, all of these articles are now attached and the reference information is identified in there. There are some cases where that doesn't work out exactly the right way. And if I go into my big Endnote library, I can probably find articles. I think I've fixed most of these, and this might be something I have to do differently, where I'll have the article attached, but I won't have the actual author's name. Sorry, I can't find one to show you the example. But what it'll do, it'll basically put the title of the PDF in, but not actually put the authors and all that stuff in directly. So you actually have to do that manually, the old-fashioned way. Hopefully this was clear in explaining to you what we needed to do. I'm going to hit pause for a second and see if I can find one like that. Hold on a second. Okay, so what I needed to do was import some more examples, and I did. And now you can see, so I imported about 11 articles or so, 15 articles, sorry. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 gave me sort of this weird looking information. So this is just like what I showed you before, right? So if I double click on this, it's going to show all the information over here and the attached article, which is a really efficient way to pull in data into Endnote. However, you can see here with this Weeby tendon glide, so if I double click on that, it has these tendon glide exercises, but it doesn't have any information over here on the left. So this Marwan Weeby article and all of the information related to it is not really, it wasn't a proper PDF document. I guess it looks sort of like an image. And so this is what happens in those cases. So now you would actually have to manually go in and type in the information. Now, Marwan Weeby has already been in my Endnote library. That's why it's staying black. If you put in a relatively new reference, it'll type in red. I want to change the title to the actual name, to tendon gliding exercises. The journal that this was published in, I don't quite remember. Usually it's at the bottom. Here it says March, so there's the volume and number and the year. So the year is 1987, a classic. The volume is number 3. The issue is number 3. The volume was 41, my error. Pages, So it starts on page 164 and it goes to the end, which is on page, oops. So that I would ignore, so 167. So that's going to go to 167. This says the American Journal of Occupational Therapy is the journal. So I would type in the American, and you can see the computer's smart. It tries to guess. So occupational therapy is already in my headings, so it automatically filled that in. So I'm going to stop there and let it go. So I don't have to put all of this other information in. That's the main stuff that would go into a citation. But now I've imported that information. So then I would close this. It's going to index it because now I've changed the name of that and sort of save it. And now instead of just saying this nebulous name, it's going to actually give it a reference with that information. Sorry about that little delay. I think that is the main components of importing a single citation or not. Thank you for your attention.